Sheldon, how are you? Okay, just to review the Mishnah, we're Be'ez Hashem, we're finishing this week the Masechta, and hopefully somebody can make a Kaddish after we finish. And we're going to finish Be'ez Hashem on Friday, God willing. Just to review, the Mishnah made a comment. The Mishnah said the Yontiv of Rosh Hashana that falls out on Shabbos, Ba'amigdash, when the Beis Hamikdash was around, they would blow the shofar in the office of the Sanhedrin. You see, the reason why you're not supposed to blow the shofar in your own private domain, because there was a gezerah that you may come to carry it, trying to learn how to blow the shofar. But in the Beis Hamikdash, they never had gezerahs to Rabbanim, and in fact, by the Sanhedrin, the Supreme Court there, they actually blew the shofar. Avaloi b'Medina, not outside, not even in Jerusalem, right? Not even Jerusalem, only in the Beis Hamikdash, in that big chamber within the Beis Hamikdash that held the Supreme Court, Sanhedrin. Mishachar Beis Hamikdash, Rabbi Yochanan Mizaki made a rule that here's the key word: any place that there was a bezdin, they established. So that even in Tel Aviv or wherever there was a bezdin, every city that had their own court of 23, very important. So they had a mid-tier court. They would blow the shofar there as well. So it wasn't just in one place. But Rabbi Lazar said, no, that's not the story. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said, no, after the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, they should blow the shofar only where the Supreme Court was located. And after the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, the Supreme Court, Sanhedrin, was located in Yavne. So that was Rabbi Lazar. But they told back to him that no, Rabbi Yochanan said we're in Yavna, and whenever there's a bezdin, you blow the shofar. So this Amru Loi is just seems to repeat what the Tana Kama held, that the first Tana held that you blow the shofar anywhere outside of anywhere where there was a bezdin. One more point. Okay, hi Lewis, we just began. One more point. The Mishnah said, and the Mishnah said, I told you that there was 2 steps, but there actually was 3 steps. First, during the time of the Beis Hamikdash, they blew the shofar in the Beis Hamikdash. Then the Mishnah doesn't say this, but there was a time that the Beis Hamikdash was around, but the Sanhedrin closed up office, and they didn't hold the office in the Beis Hamikdash. They moved it to Jerusalem. They moved it to Jerusalem because they didn't want to adjudicate capital punishments. We mentioned this yesterday. So they moved it to Jerusalem. When the temple was around and the Sanhedrin was in Jerusalem, everywhere in Jerusalem they blew. Even if you were a plain individual, you had your own home, you blew in Jerusalem. And then the Mishnah says, not only in Jerusalem, they blew the shofar during that period, but any city that was very, very near and dear to Jerusalem, that it could see Jerusalem, could hear the sounds of Jerusalem, had a din like that city, and they would blow. Anybody can blow. But Yavna, again, this Mishnah, this opinion held that they only blew in Bezdin. Okay, let's read the Gemara. We're up to Daf Chavtes Amud Sheni, about like 8 lines from the bottom. Mishachar Beis Hamikdash Hiskin Rabbi Yochanan Mizaki. So Rabbi Yochanan Mizaki, when the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, he wanted to institute that people should blow the shofar when Rosh Hashana falls out on Shabbos. It was on his mind, because he felt that if you didn't blow the shofar, people will forget the mitzvah of shofar. And in fact, we don't blow the shofar when it comes out on Shabbos, but the Rif, in his synagogue, the Rif was one of the Rishonim, he actually blew the shofar even when Rosh Hashanah fell out on Shabbos. So this is based on what Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai wanted to establish. Tanu Rabban, the rabbis taught, Pam Achas, the one time, and this was the first time after the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, right, of the second temple. Chol Rosh Hashanah liyos b'Shabbos. Rosh Hashanah fell out on Shabbos, and everybody knew that generally you don't blow the shofar. Amar lehem Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai lebnei Beseira. So Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai told the other Gedolim that lived in his time. You see, he had opposition, even though he's the leader, but there was a lot of smart people. So Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai told the Bnei Beseira The other Gedolim, Niska, let us blow the shofar in the Sanhedrin. Amrulai, they said, not so fast. Nodin, let's debate it. Maybe you shouldn't. Maybe you can only blow when during the temple, but not Yavna when the Beis Hamikdash is not around. Amalehem, no, he said to them, Niska, first let's blow, and then after Shabbos, after Rosh Hashana, Vacha Kach Nodin, then we'll have the debate about it. They blew it on Shabbos. Amrulai, they said, Nodin, let's debate. Did we do the right thing? Did we not do the right thing? Amalehem, so Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said, it's too late. Kvanishma Karen B'Yavna. Here, I don't know if you heard that. There's a place called Karen B'Yavna. We all heard this horn of Yavna. The aim is Shivin Lachal. You can't change it anymore. I really established the rule now in Yavna that they're going to blow the shofar even when Rosh Hashana falls out on Shabbos, because if you start changing rules, people are going to doubt that the court knows what they're doing, that they made a mistake. So we don't want to show that the court made a mistake. So we blow that's how he got the rule passed, by tricking the other people into blowing the shofar when it fell out on Shabbos. No, and so we said that the Chachamim said, the Chachamim said that no, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai made the rule, not only you blow it in Sanhedrin, in Yavna, but every place, every city that had their own bezdin of 23, they would blow the shofar. And Rabbi Laza, and that's Omer Rabbi Laza. Rabbi Laza said, "Lo yiskin Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai ela b'Yavna b'Yad." Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, Rabbi Laza's opinion is Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai only said that you blow the shofar in Yavna. Amru loy. So the Chachamim said back to Rabbi Laza, not true. Echad Yavna ve'echad kol makom she'es bezdin. Any place, any city that had their own little court, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was okay if they blew the shofar when it fell out on Shabbos, when Rosh Hashanah fell out on Shabbos. So the Gemara just discusses Amru loy, Hainu Tanakama. This Amru loy is a repeat of the first Tana of the Mishnah, which says the same idea, that they used to blow the shofar on Shabbos, even in any bezdin. So what is this difference between the last Tana of the Mishnah and the first Tana of the Mishnah? So the Gemara says, Ika b'nai, there is a difference. Beidina de ekrai. If there is a temporary bezdin, in other words, that is, bezdin had a temporary office. Let's say they're fixing their office somewhere, and they move their office to a village outside into another place, which normally doesn't have a bezdin there. So according to the Tanakama, they would blow the shofar there because temporarily the bezdin is located there. But according to the Chachamim, no, it has to be more of a permanent basis, that if the bezdin is there, then you can blow the shofar on Shabbos. But it has to be more a permanent office of a bezdin. Okay. Amrullah, so the Gemara repeats it. Any place that has their bezdin, you could blow the shofar on Shabbos. Okay? Any city that had a court that of 23, you could blow the shofar on Shabbos. Amr Rav Huna has commented on that. And we're on top of Lamed Amar Aleph. The im bezdin. He made a cryptic statement. It has to be with bezdin. What does that mean? You go into the office and you blow with bezdin? My the im bezdin. What did Rabbi Yehuna mean by that? So the Gemara says, bifnei bezdin. You could only blow the shofar if you walk into the court's house. Let's say on Rosh Hashana, you live not far from the court. You potentially could walk into that building and blow your shofar on Shabbos. But but this is excludes loy bifnei bezdin. If you're outside the courthouse, the law you can't blow. Again, the reason why the courthouse is important is because once you're in the courthouse, you're not going to violate carrying the shofar in the street. So that was Rabbi Yochanan said that would be okay. You could blow it, but it has to be in the court house. So that's Mosiv Rava. So Rava asked a question on that. We learned in our Mishnah that Jerusalem had much more an additional advantage over the Yavna story. What does it mean by zois? Do you say, like the example mentioned in the Mishnah, that anything close to Jerusalem is Jerusalem? So that's zois mebayle. If that's the only thing, what's the va'oid zois? My va'oid zois. What's one more thing that's not mentioned in the Mishnah that applies by Jerusalem and does not apply by here? Ella. So what's missing in the Mishnah? And this is all part of the kasha. The Mishnah means to say that in Jerusalem, toikin yechidim, every individual could blow the shofar. And then uba Yavna, and Yavna ain't toikin yechidim. That if you're an individual, you can't blow the shofar in your own home. In Jerusalem, you can blow the shofar in your own home, in Yavne not. So the Gemara asked the question of Yavne in Toikin Yechidin, but Yavne, you can't blow the shofar in your own home. Well, he also Rabbi Yitzchak bar Yosef Amar, Rabbi Yitzchak Yosef came, he would say, he came from Israel, and he told over that in Yavne, when the Shliach Tzibor, let's say the head of the Bezdin, right, that fell out on Shabbos, that even when they finished blowing the shofar in Yavne, in the Bezdin, you couldn't hear your own voice because everybody started blowing the shofar. So we think that what he meant to say is that every individual in Yavne used to blow. That's what we're thinking. And that really is disagreeing with what Rav Huna said, because Rav Huna said that if you live in Yavne, you can't blow in your own home. You have to walk into the Bezdin house to blow. So already that's a little difficult against Rav Huna. But the Gemara wants to say that's what the Mishnah means to say. It's not Rav Yitzchak's idea. It's actually what the Mishnah means to say. Elalav. So the way we're going to view the Mishnah, we're going to say the Mishnah means to say in Yerushalayim, Toikin, you had to blow Bein Bizman Bezdin during the hours of Bezdin. Now, this is important that the hours of Bezdin were in the morning, from early in the morning till 12 noon. So during that time, you can blow your shofar in your own home, Bein Shloi Bizman Bezdin. When it's not the hours of Bezdin, you can blow the whole day. Ubiyavne, but in Yavne, Bizman Bezdin Aim. Only you could blow the shofar in Bizman Bezdin, only at the time of Bezdin, up until 12 noon, Shaloi Bizman Bezdin Loi, but not during the hours after hours. So you had to stick within the hours that Bezdin was open, but presumably that even in Yavne, you could blow in your own home. That's what the Gemara wants to make midayek. The Gemara wants to say that Ha Bizman Bezdin, but if it wasn't the time of Bezdin, Mia Toikin, you could blow even in Yavne, even if you don't walk into that courthouse, you could still blow the shofar. So what's shot? So how could Rav Huna say no, that in Yavne you could only blow in the courthouse? Maybe the way we're learning in the Mishnah, it's not so. So the Gemara says, "Lo, that's not so." The way you should learn the Mishnah is like this: the Ilu Yerushalayim, Toikim, you would blow Bein Bifnei Bezdin, Bein Shloi Bifnei Bein. Yerushalayim, you could blow in your own home, or you could go to the Bezdin house. Uviyavne, in Yavne, again, Bifnei Bezdin, and only if you walk into the courthouse, yes, you can blow. Shloi Bifnei Bezdin, Loi. And not in front of Bezdin, you can't. And that is the difference between Yerushalayim and Yavne. We learned before that when they blew in Yavne, you couldn't even hear the sounds because everybody seemed to be blowing the shofar. But that's not that they blew the shofar in their own home. They actually walked into Bezdin and they blew the shofar. But you could only do it in front of Bezdin and Yavne. So again, that's how you learn Pshat in the Mishnah. The Mishnah tells you that Yerushalayim had an advantage. When the court was in Jerusalem, when they moved out of the Beis Hamikdash in Jerusalem, even wherever you lived, Rechavia, Beit Vegan, no matter what, you can blow the shofar in your own home, when Rosh Hashana falls out on Shabbos. When the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed and the whole court, the Supreme Court, moved to Yavne, then you could only blow if you walk into the courthouse building and blow in front of Bezdin. But in your own home, you couldn't do that. And that's Pshat in the Mishnah. And that's what Rabbi Huna said. In Bezdin means Bifnei Bezdin. When in Yavne, you can only walk into the courthouse. Ika de Masnila, others had another version of how Rav Huna commented it. He wasn't commenting on the Mishnah of Rosh Hashana falling out on Shabbos. He's going on another example, another brisa. There's a brisa that says, the brisa says, Yom HaKippurim tarviru shofar b'chol ha'atzchem. On Yovel, Yom Kippur is like a Shabbos, by the way. And the Torah says that I want you to blow the shofar. Everybody should blow the shofar, not just Bezdin. Every person in Israel should blow their own shofar on Yom Kippur that falls out in Yom Kippur, which is like Shabbos. Now, Melame, this teaches us, Shekol Yachad v'Yachad Chayov L'Tkoya. Every individual has to blow. On this brisa, Rav Huna made a comment, which is a little cryptic. Amar Rav Huna said, V'im Bezdin. It has to be with Bezdin. What do you mean? You're blowing it in your house. What does it mean? My V'im Bezdin. What does it mean, V'im Bezdin? Bizman Bezdin. That means only during the first 6 hours of the day, you can blow the shofar when Bezdin has their normal business hours. That's when you blew the shofar on Yom Kippur on Yovel. La Puke, to exclude Shloi Bisman Bezdin, but if it's outside business hours as Bezdin, the Loi, then you would not blow the shofar on Yom Kippur of Yovel. So the Gemara asked, Mosiv Rava. Rava asked the question. Tikiyas, let's skip this word Rosh Hashana, it's taken out. The Kivas Yovel, the Brisa says, the blowing of shofar of Yovel, Doiches Shabbos Bigvulim. The blowing of the blowing of the shofar on Yovel pushes away Shabbos in outside in all over Israel. Ish ubeisoi, every person and his house. Now, first of all, the blowing of the shofar pushing away Shabbos means it pushes away Yom Kippur. Everybody has to blow the shofar on Yovel, and ish ubeisoi, everybody and his wife. My ish ubeisoi. What do you mean ish ubeisoi? Every man and his wife. To free the slaves, they all had to blow the shofar. Ilema, does that mean ishtoi? A man and his wife have to blow the shofar? Do we say a woman is chayiv to blow the shofar of Yom Kippur? It's a timely mitzvah. This kind of mitzvah, a nashim would not be obligated to it. Elalav. So what does it mean? Ish bebeisai. You can do it bibesa in your house, no matter what time you want to blow. You can blow 4 in the afternoon. Even if it's after hours of Bezdin, you could still blow. And this is a kasha against Rav Huna, who Rav Huna said, no, on Yom Kippur, if you're blowing in your house, you have to blow within the first 6 hours when Bezdin has business hours. So the Gemara says, Loi, that's not true. La'olam bizman Bezdin. That's what the Brisa means. Ish bebesa, everybody blows in their house, but they have to stick within the confines of the Zman Bezdin. Masiv Rav Sheshes, Rav Sheshes asked another question against Rav Huna. The Brisa says, Shava haYovel Rosh Hashana. The Brisa says that Yovel and Rosh Hashana are equal. In which way? Litkiya, that you blow shofar on Rosh Hashana and Yovel. V'la brachos, and you daven the long musaf on Yovel and Rosh Hashana. And El Yovel, the Brisa says, Toikim bein bebezin shekitros chaydish. Bein bebezin shloi kitros chaydish. On Yovel, you blow in the bezdin and not in bezdin. Even a regular bezdin, you blow. Not only that, every person has to blow. Doesn't matter. In your own home. And Rosh Hashana, when it fell out on Shabbos, you only blew in the main court of the Supreme Court of 70. That's when they blew the shofar, when it fell out on Shabbos. That day, not every individual is obligated to blow. Only in the main bezdin they blew. So my ein kol yochid v'yochid chayav l'koya. What does it mean on Rosh Hashana? Every individual doesn't have to blow. Ilema, to be yovel toikin yechidim, Rosh Hashana ain't toikin yechidim. On yovel, individuals can blow, and Rosh Hashana individuals cannot blow. According to Rav Yitzchak Bar Yosef, we see when he came back from Israel, he said that in Yavna, when Rosh Hashanah fell out on Shabbos, everybody blew the shofar, because when they finished blowing the shofar in the court, it seems that you couldn't hear your ears because everybody was blowing the shofar. So we see that in Rosh Hashanah, everybody was blowing. So Elalav, what does the Brisa mean? The ilu b'yovel toikim be'bizman bezin mein shloi bizman bezin. The Brisa must mean that yovel you blow whether it was the time of bezin, whether it was not the time of bezin. Over Rosh Hashanah bizman bezin en ushloi bizman bezin loy. But Rosh Hashanah you could only blow within the 6 hours, but not after the 6 hours of that bezin doesn't have hours. But in yovel you can blow. You blow. Everybody blows, and they blow all day. It doesn't matter. Whether it's the court hours or not court hours, it's after hours. You can blow in your own home 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Ketani miyas, but a partial quote, and that our understanding of the Brisa is b'yovel bein b'zman bezin, bein shloi b'zman bezin. On yovel you can blow during court hours than not court hours. And Rav Huna said, the way this version of Rav Huna, that you could only blow b'zman bezdin. Rav Huna said that even in yovel, and you're an individual, you can only blow during the hours of Bezdin. So the Gemara says, yes, that's the way you should learn the Brisa. La'olam bizman Bezdin. This is the way you learn the Brisa. But Yovel, if even an individual, bizman Bezdin toikin, Bein bifnei bezdin, bein shloi bifnei bezdin. But yovel, you can blow only during the first 6 hours of operation of bezdin, but you don't have to blow in front of the courthouse. In the courthouse, you can be in your own home. But Rosh Hashana, on Rosh Hashana, toikim bizman bezdin uvifnei bezdin. On Rosh Hashana, you can only blow during the time of bezdin, during the first 6 hours a day, and you can only blow within the courthouse. And that's what Rav Yitzchak Bar Yosef again said, that when he heard a lot of people blowing shofar on Rosh Hashanah that fell out on Shabbos in Yavna, it means that they didn't blow in their own home. They actually walked into the bezdin and started blowing there. Itmar, we're going to finish up here. Itmanami Amar B'chia Bar Gamda Amar B'Yosef Ben Shol Amar Rebbe. Ein toikin ela bizman shebezdin yoshim. You can only blow when bezdin is sitting. When Rosh Hashanah is falling out on Shabbos, you could only blow when there's bezdin hours. By Reb Zera. So Reb Zera said, and by the way, you could walk into the courthouse. Again, you have to imagine this. Imagine you had a courthouse, and it's Rosh Hashanah that fell on Shabbos. You could walk into the courthouse and blow, but only during bezdin hours. If the bezdin closed up, if bezdin doesn't have hours there, then you can't blow. So by Reb Zera, Breyer asked the question: Ninaru lama v'loy amdu mahu. If the bezdin is there, but they are getting ready to go. In other words, everybody got up from their chair and they didn't stay shaking to get up to stand, but they didn't stand up yet. So the session is over. You understand what the Gemara's question is. Like, say if you went to the Capitol and you were viewing what's going on in Congress, you'll see when the session is over, everybody's still sitting in their seat and just about to get up. So is that considered bezdin hours or not bezdin hours? Bezdin yoshim be'inim. Do we need that? The main point is the bezdin should be sitting in their seats. Va'ika, and that's the case. Oidilma zaman bezdin be'inim. The bezdin has to be in session. V'leikin, that's not the case over here. Teku, the Gemara remains by a question. Okay, so
there was bezdin on a Shabbos.
Oh, so they had bezdin on the Shabbos. Maybe they everybody davened in the Hashkama minyan, and they debated cases. I don't know exactly, but yes,
it sounds so not Shabbos.
Oh, right. So maybe in the normal, yeah. Well, that's.
Imagine if today they,
right. That's a good
guys,
question.
They went home from davening, ate lunch, and then they said to the family, "See you later. I'm going to work." And then they all just go to bezdin in the middle of the day on Shabbos?
Well, bezdin is not posketing money cases. They're not posketing. They're posketing whether you could open soda bottles on Shabbos. So they could debate that on Shabbos. They're not posketing capital punishment cases. They're posketing halachas that are going to be forever, So they could be in session. And you could only blow the shofar when they're in session. So they probably blew it in the early minyan that they had in the bezdin house. And if you happen to live in walking distance, you could walk into that building and blow.
Okay.
But that's why I said before that the Rif, who is like Rishon, that's in the back of the Gemaras, he held a bezdin and in his little place in Spain. And he felt that in my place, I'm going to blow the shofar when Rosh Hashanah falls out on Shabbos because I have my bezdin over here. When the court, the Supreme Court was in Jerusalem, then any place that was near Jerusalem would also have a din like Jerusalem. They would blow the shofar on Shabbos. So what's considered a place near Jerusalem? So it's like Modi'in elite. I don't know. It's like Roya. It could see Jerusalem. Pratli Sheves Benachal. If it's sitting in a valley and Jerusalem is up there, it cannot see Jerusalem. Shemas, if it could hear Jerusalem. Pratli Sheves Bereishahar. If it's a high mountain away from Jerusalem, that's not called near Jerusalem. Kroivet has to be close to Jerusalem. Pratli Sheves Chus Tchum. If it's too far outside the Tchum of Jerusalem, it's not considered Jerusalem. Even if it's close enough to Jerusalem, it has to be some place that you could actually come to Jerusalem. Prat Lamavsik Nahara. If there's a river that blocks your path to get to Jerusalem, that wouldn't have a din of Jerusalem. So if we take a look at the pictures over here, so if this place is the old city of Jerusalem, if the development over here, it's close to Jerusalem, right, where my pointer is, this city over here, but they can't see Jerusalem because Jerusalem is on the mountain and they're over here, although they can hear Jerusalem. How about there? They can hear Jerusalem. The second case, they can hear Jerusalem because, but they can't get to Jerusalem, I guess, because maybe they could get to Jerusalem, but they can't. I don't know. They can't hear Jerusalem. See, the Jerusalem, the sound would go to the valley, but it would not go up the next mountain. So they can see Jerusalem. They could actually walk to Jerusalem, but they can't hear Jerusalem, and therefore this place would not become part of Jerusalem. Okay, new Mishnah. Bereshayna haya lulav nitel b'migdash. In the Beis Hamikdash, the Beis Hamikdash, the lulav was taken all 7 days. Uvamdina yom echad. Or throughout the Medina, means throughout Israel and throughout the world, lulav and esrog is taken 1 day. Mishachara Beis Hamikdash hiskin Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. When the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai made a rule: shehei lulav nitel b'mdina shiva. That from now on, everybody should take the lulav all 7 days. Zeichel Hamikdash, to remember,
including Shabbos.
That's Shiva. That's a mistake here. It should be only Shisha, because it's obviously we're not going to take the lulav on Shabbos. But the fact is that during the time of the Mikdash, you only took the lulav 1 day, and now we take the lulav all 7 days.
It's not Shabbos,
not a Shabbos. I even made a note in my say except Shabbos. So excellent. Not Shabbos. But I will tell you that it seems to say that in the Beis Hamikdash, they took the lulav because the lulav all 7 days, because the Torah says, "Usmachtem lifnei Hashem elokechem shibas yomim." So what defines Beis Hamikdash? Doesn't mean the Beis Hamikdash itself. That's what you think so. But according to Rambam, Bamikdash means not only the Beis Hamikdash, but in Jerusalem also. They took this lulav all 7 days, midaraisa. So nowadays, according to the Rambam, who holds that the Kedusha of the temple and the Kedusha always remains, it could be that in the old city of Jerusalem, there is a obligation to take the lulav midaraisa all 7 days, not midrabana. So let's say, what's the nafkamina? If you took your lulav and esrog, let's say you were in Tel Aviv, and then you end up visiting on during Sukkot, the old city of Jerusalem, so you should retake your lulav and esrog in the old city, because according to Rambam, there's more of a chiyuv d'oraisa to take the lulav and esrog in the Jerusalem, because he learned Bamikdash means not just the Beis Hamikdash, but there was in the obligation was even in Jerusalem you were supposed to take it for 7 days. Anyway,
it's even more of a chumrah. If someone's in the new city of Yerushalayim and walks into the Lefnim Choma, would have to even take it. I've seen people take, when I go to the Koisel on Chol Moed, they take a little Dal Minim again, because maybe they weren't Yotze when they were outside of the old Ir Atika.
You're absolutely correct, because the Ir Atika, that's what we consider the closest thing to the original Jerusalem. Yeah. Right, very interesting. Okay, so Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai made the rule that you should lulav is taken all 7 days. How do I know that you should do something to remember the Beis Hamikdash? The pasuk says, "Ki ala rucha lach ma'kasayach ha'pe'echnu Hashem ki nidachal karu lach tziyon hi darish ein law." The Navi says that Hashem Kadosh Baruch Hu will heal Jerusalem because people called it a castaway and because nobody is seeking it. So Michlal, from this pasuk, we can derive the boya drisha. You have to always remember how the Beis Hamikdash was, and based on that pasuk, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said since in the Beis Hamikdash the lulav was taken 7 days, so outside the Beis Hamikdash we're also going to take the lulav for 7 days. Says the Gemara. The Mishnah said another thing. We may have skipped this. V'shehei yom hanef kilei asa. Yom hanef means the day of the day of the bringing of the Omer, first day of Chol Hamoed Pesach. You should not eat Chodesh, right? During the time of the Beis Hamikdash, they would eat the Chodesh as soon as they brought the Omer. Then you could eat the new crop. But since we don't have a Beis Hamikdash, the whole day is Aser. That's what he said. Now, my timer, why should he say that the whole day is Aser? Why did he say that? Because Meheira Yabana Beis Hamikdash, we're hoping that the Beis Hamikdash will be built. V'yomru, next year, let's say, they'll say, Eshtaked mi elachalni beheir mizra. Because technically, min haTorah, you should be able, if you don't have a Beis Hamikdash, the first day of Pesach in the morning, you should be able to eat the new crop because you're not bringing the Omer. So if that's what we do right now, if we would eat the new crop the first day of Pesach, so when the Beis Hamikdash is going to be built, everybody's going to say the previous year before the Beis Hamikdash was built, we ate the new crop in the morning. And now also we can eat the new crop in the morning. People are not going to recognize the difference. The eshtake last year, last year you didn't have a carbon to bring, so you could eat in the morning. As soon as the morning came, you were allowed to eat the new crop. But now that you have to bring this carbon oimer because the third Beis Hamikdash was built, oimer matter, you have to wait till after the oimer. So because of that, he said, don't eat the new crop till the second day of Pesach, till the second day of Chol Hamoed, not the first day. So Gemara asked the question: the Mibani Amos, when would the Beis Hamikdash be built? That Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was so concerned. That it will be built on the 17th day of after 17th day of Nisan. So it doesn't matter. In the 16th day of Nisan, it wasn't around. That the Beis Hamikdash wasn't around on the 16th of Nisan. So as soon as the 16th of Nisan comes, which is the first day of Chol Hamoed, you should be allowed to eat the new crop. Ella, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai's concern was the Yanim Bechmeisa was built. The Beis Hamikdash was built on the first day of Pesach, right? The first day of Pesach after Seder morning, it was built. Then even if the Beis Hamikdash was built on the day before, right? The day before the 16th, on the 15th of Nisan, then on the 16th of Nisan, when they brought usually they brought the Omer right away at 12 o'clock. Everybody, even when the Beis Hamikdash was around, Bezdin didn't waste time. They brought the Omer right away. So then Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai should have made a rule that midday of Chol Hamoed Pesach, you should allow to eat the new crop. Totanan, we learned in the Mishnah, when the Beis Hamikdash was around, that if you live distant from Jerusalem and you didn't know if exactly when they brought the carbon Omer, so then you could assume by midday you could eat your new crop because Bezdin, who's in charge of the Beis Hamikdash, were not lazy about it. They right away brought it in the morning. So you can assume that it was done. So Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai should have made his rule that from midday, because even during the time of the Beis Hamikdash, from midday on, you could assume they brought the carbon omer. So why did he say that the whole day is asur? Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was concerned for a minor possibility. The Ibani that the Beis Hamikdash will be built at the end of the 15th day, close to sunset. Inami di Bani Belayla. It was built at night. And Rashi explains that although we don't build the Beis Hamikdash at night, the last Rashi on the page, that's only if it was built by humans. But the Binyan Asud Lave, the third Beis Hamikdash, Bidei Shemayim, it's coming down from heaven. So we're concerned, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai is concerned that if it's coming down from heaven, it might come right after Matzah, the first day of Pesach. And then you didn't have time to cut the wheat and prepare the sa'ar, the barley for the omer. It might take longer than chatzos. And therefore, it might, in that case, that first opportunity, they'll bring it, the omer in the afternoon. That's why he said the whole day should be asur. That's Rabbi Nachman ben Yitzchak Amar. Rabbi Yochanan ben Yitzchak says another reason why Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said the whole day is asur. And he had it in Rabbi Yochanan ben Yitzchak said it's a doraisa reason. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, b'shitas, we go down the base, shitas, Rabbi Yehuda Amara. He said it he went with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. The Amar, he said, ad etzem yom zeh ad atzmei shel yom. He learned, Rabbi Yehuda, the Tana, held that really when there is no Beis Hamikdash, the Torah says, don't eat the new crop until the day passes. Ad va'ad v'chlal. That means ad up until the first day of Chol Hamoed, and even including the first day of Chol Hamoed. So it's a medoraisa diga reason that Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said, since we don't have a Beis Hamikdash, that's what the Torah meant. If you don't have a Beis Hamikdash, don't wait till the Omer, because you're not waiting. There's no Omer. You have to wait till the day passes, and that's what Etzem Hayom is at. So the Gemara says, is it possible Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai held like Rabbi Yehuda? Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai seemed to disagree with him. The Tanah we learned in the Mishnah, Mishachar Beis Hamikdash, his skin, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, he made a new rule. It's mashma, he came up with this idea that the whole day should be asur. It's not a doraisa dig reason. And Amar Rabbi Yehuda, this Amar Rabbi Yehuda is a Moira, a Tana, but it's not not somebody who met Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. He came much later, and he said that he doesn't understand Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Shouldn't it be asr min a Torah? That it says the Torah says it should be asr because the Torah says that you shouldn't eat the new fruit until after the first day of Chol Hamoed. So we see that Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai seemed to disagree with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. So the answer is no. He doesn't disagree with Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda misunderstood Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. He made a mistake. Rabbi Yehuda held Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai midrabanan kama. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai came up with this idea of Yom Henef Kuli Aser is Aser because it's midrabanan. He made up the idea. V'loihi, it's not so. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai meant to say it's midoraisa kamar. It's midoraisa. So, but Gemara says, wait a second. How could it be that he didn't make it up? Or Hiskin Ketani. The Brisa says that Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was misakin it. So he came up with the idea. So the Gemara says, no, my Hiskin, what does Hiskin mean? Darash v'Hiskin. He made the drasha and he made a drasha and he announced that I have a new drasha to prove that midaraisa, when there is no Beis HaMikdash, the whole day should have to be Asr. So again, two reasons why Yom Henef is Kuli Asr. Either it's a Torah digger reason, or Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai came up with the idea because he's concerned that the Beis HaMikdash will be built with not enough time to prepare the Omer. New Mishnah, Barishayna. Barishayna, in the beginning, all the way in the beginning, on Rosh Hashana, right? You started Rosh Hashana, one day Rosh Hashana. You don't know if it's Rosh Hashana, maybe that's Elul. The whole day, they accepted Eidos. If Eidos came and said, oh, we saw the new moon, they would make that day Rosh Hashana, and the next day everybody went to work. That's the way it was in the time of when we used to Mekadesh Chodesh normally. Pamachas, one time, Nishtahu Eidim Lavoi. Eidim did not come till very late in the afternoon. And the Karbonos, they're supposed to sing, make a sound and sing by the Karbonos, by the Tamid of the afternoon. The Levim didn't know what to sing. Because if it's a weekday, you're supposed to say a weekday song. And if it's a Yom Tov, a Shir, then you're supposed to say the Rosh Hashanah. They didn't know it was Rosh Hashanah. They messed up. So they didn't know what to do. Hiskinu, they made a rule, they would only accept the Eidos up until Mincha, up until the Tamid Shabein Arbayim. But once they brought the Tamid Shabein Arbayim, even if Eidim say that, oh, today is Rosh Hashanah, Bezdin will say, we're not accepting you. And not only that, we're not accepting you, and tomorrow we're going to make Rosh Hashanah. We're going to make everybody stay and finish out this Rosh Hashanah, because they started it off as a Rosh Hashanah. You started the day thinking it's Rosh Hashanah, even though you know for a fact that tomorrow is the real Rosh Hashanah. Everybody should continue keeping the holy day. Vimbo Eidim in a Mincha Mal, because if the Eidim came from Mincha on, the Hagen Oisei Yom Kodesh Ulamacha Kodesh, they would keep that day holy, even though really that day is not holy, because they're only making the Aleph Tishri the next day. But Ulamacha Kodesh, they would make the next day Kodesh as well, because they didn't want to, like, you start off a day thinking it's Rosh Hashanah and then they make the announcement, no Rosh Hashanah, so people get confused. So you keep that day as the fake Rosh Hashanah, the next day as the holy Rosh Hashanah. But generally, Eidim would come during the day of the first day of Rosh Hashanah, and if they were accepted before Mincha time, they stopped the whole service, and the next day you were allowed to go to work. Mishachar Beis HaMikdash, when the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, his skin, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, Shoy Mekablam Eidos Chodesh Kol Hayom. They would accept Eidos Chodesh the entire day. Since there's no shear, there's nothing wrong, or nothing can go wrong. So anytime, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the afternoon, if the Eidim came, we would accept them and then call that day Rosh Hashanah, the real Rosh Hashanah, and the next day a weekday. They didn't stop the Eidim if they wanted to say testimony before Mincha time. So that was during the time. We'll discuss more about this tomorrow, Be'ez Hashem. Okay, so we'll stop by the Gemara over here, and yeah, it gets easier. The dafim gets smaller, and we have one daf at the end, so it's no problem. Catch up. Okay, good night, everybody.
Gute Nacht.